This is more like a train that we hop on. And we might get out at certain stations and spend time there. But it's actually a journey that we hop on and we do together. We're all doing it together. The whole of humanity is doing a journey together. And depending however we feel about traveling, some people hate traveling. It's that unsettled feeling, you're living out of a suitcase, that sort of thing. No idea what's ahead. That can feel very unsettling for a lot of us. But if we start to become a bit more comfortable with that, if we start to become comfortable with the scenery changes every day when you're traveling, when that starts to feel like more of an adventure, we can relax a little bit more into the journey. We're not trying to keep everything the same. We might allow that we spend a little bit more time somewhere. You get off at a station, have a look around. But you get back on the train again, you let yourself move. And it can feel like when we're stuck in that mindset of enlightenment is a destination, we can be trapped in patterns where we try and keep things the same. No matter what that is. We can be in a, let's say, a job that we like. And we're like, I hope this is always like this. Or our relationship is going well. I hope it always stays like this. Or whatever it is. And that's just not life. It's not the nature of life to stay the same. The nature of life is that it's dynamic. It's always moving, always changing. So it's a little bit like when we practice meditation. It gives us more of a way to be comfortable on the journey. It gives us that way of adapting to the different scenery. Adapting to different people that sit beside you on the train. And there's always going to be the people that just annoy you. And then there's going to be the people that you hope it can continue for years. Yeah. Can't get enough of their company. Can't get enough of that kind of conversation. But it's the nature of being able to move with it. That's my feeling of spiritual journey. When we get afraid of things, we want to think ahead. We love to know what's ahead. We see this quite a lot in India trips. I was just talking to you about India. You get these people like, what's happening next? Where are we going now? Or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. All I know is that, it's lunch in half an hour or whatever. That's it. Or we have to be on the bus for whatever time. After that, I don't know what's going to happen. And you can see people going, what? How many times have you done this? I can't believe that you don't know what's next. How unsettling that can feel. When we're used to being in that state of fear that tries to know everything in advance. Tries to have everything planned out. Tries to know what the experience is going to be before we even get there. So I love to play with people like that. Yeah, I'll know what's ahead. I'll have a rough idea. Yeah, but just to help how we move past that kind of comfort zone. We can have fear as we look backwards as well. Do you ever have that experience of you might be driving somewhere and it's like you wake up out of a daydream and you don't remember any of the journey that you drove? Ever happened to anybody here? Yeah. And you're like, holy shit, I have no idea how I got from home to this roundabout, or whatever it is. Anything could have happened. I was in a complete daydream. Immediate fear. What was I even thinking of? Yeah. We know that we weren't present. When we're like that in life, we're looking back and we can feel regrets. We can feel that we were somewhere else and not fully in the moment, not fully in the experience of it. Our emotions, our thoughts pulling us away, and we're just not in that moment. Over time, that can feel a little bit like loss. It can feel like, what am I doing with my life? Because the place where life feels enriched is that present moment. It's where we're so immersed in it. We're feeling everything that's happening. That can feel really enriched. If we're daydreaming, if there's so much going on that we're not able to take it in, over years that will accumulate and we'll feel like, I really haven't lived my life. What have I done with my life? We start getting into the area of, like midlife crisis. You're too young to be thinking about midlife crisis. You're too young as well. Yeah, I had my first midlife crisis, I think I was maybe 22. Yeah. Because it was the only thing I could relate it to. This is what I've read about midlife crisis. It's where you're in that space, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. I hadn't the money to buy a fancy sports car or do something mad like that. Yeah. So how we do the journey. Meditation allows us to come more and more into that space of where we experience everything. It starts with how we experience ourselves. It starts with whatever's on the top layer of what's going on in me. And if we haven't looked in there for a while, that top layer might not be so pleasant. It might be fearful, it might be angry, it might be sad, it might be regretful, shameful, guilty, whatever it is, it may not be pleasant to look at. And so very often our first few attempts is, I don't want to look at that. And we'll go back into the world of imagination or daydreaming or some other way that distracts us or lets us escape for another little while, because it's just too much to look. And then at a certain point we kind of realize, I can't go any further without addressing this. Whatever I have inside, it needs something and I need to find out what that is. Then we have a very different level of engagement with ourselves. Because that brings a persistence. We know that the way of distraction no longer works anymore. The way of avoiding, that doesn't work anymore. Or it only works for a little while. Then we're bringing in something like our determination or our persistence. I really want to get to the bottom of this. I don't want to keep living my life in these kind of circles or whatever it is. So that can give us a courage. That's how we build up that courage of, right, I'm going in there. Whatever is there, I'm going to see what that means. And we spend a little bit of time with it, and usually we'll find out. Taking that step to just be with it tells us loads. It can reveal to us what that feeling is, or maybe what that memory is. And it can sometimes reveal to us what it needs and what we might be able to do with that. And if it doesn't reveal it in the first 5 minutes, we might just persist a little bit more until we find out something. For me, meditation gives that ability to be very soft with our inner world. Our ego is so hard on our inner world. It's impatient with it, it gives out about it, it's all of that, yeah. Meditation brings us into that space where we can just be very softly paying attention to what's inside. The payoff. We don't have to wait until we're starting feeling little bits of enlightenment. The payoff we can actually feel quite soon. So when we face that, whatever that top layer is, that first thing, and let's say it's sadness. Let's say something happened, I feel really sad about that. And what that needs is maybe a few little tears. Or maybe I write a letter to somebody, or whatever it is. I write a letter to myself, my inner child, whatever is needed. And then I let that move. And then the sadness changes. It changes into something that's healed, it transforms. And then that starts to feel lighter. Somewhere in us, at the level of soul, is saying, nice one. And the feeling that we get with that is a little bit like joy. It's that, oh yeah, I need to. We can recognize that was difficult to face. That wasn't easy to let myself do or let myself pay attention to. But my reward is that I feel a little bit more peaceful about that, or a little bit more calm about that, or a little bit of joyfulness. So each time we go inside and we look at something, we have the potential of that. We have the potential of however we look at something and however we give to that, for however long it takes. And it might be an hour, it might be a couple of days, it might be a couple of weeks, months sometimes if we're working through something very big. But each little step we get to feel quite good about. There are our clues. When we're following what's true to us, when we're following our soul purpose or our life purpose, those feelings are the ones that let us know that we're going the right direction. it will feel right. It will feel what we need. Even if in the midst of healing it might be a little bit painful, tearful, angry, sad, whatever it is. We'll just have a sense of, no, I need this. I need to go get to the other side of this. That will feel great, but right now I actually just need this. I remember my words, how I used to describe it. And it was maybe a year after a bereavement, and a significant family bereavement. And I could just feel it all inside me. You know how grief can feel inside. And the only words that I could put in it was, I needed to fall apart. And those words terrified me, but I knew that they were true. I needed some kind of space where I didn't have to be strong, where I wasn't feeling that I needed to support or be responsible for anybody else. I needed to give myself something of a space where I could just really let this go. And it took quite a while to get that ready. But I knew that it was there, and I knew that until I gave it that space, that it wasn't going to heal. So over time the space came. Over time certain things moved out of the way that allowed me to give it that space, to give it priority. But it was so clear. I remember the words, I need to fall apart. I need to fall apart. I'm like, are you for real? You know, there was a part of my mind that was hearing that going, like, are you for real? You want to fall apart and you think that's a good idea? You know how the ego mind will argue with that. Like, don't be ridiculous. That's like the worst thing you can do. So we can spend quite a while stuck between those two places. The inner world is showing us, or even by feeling, giving us the sense of what it needs. And maybe up here in the ego mind, it's battling, saying, no. How about we try this instead? Let's do this, let's do that. Distracting.